And with MMA royalty herself, Megan Olivi. And look, we get to do this for a second year running,
know,
which
I'm
is
so glad
wonderful.
to see you. You're the best.
Oh, it's wonderful. And look, we talked before about what this whole Hall of Fame ceremony means, but let's talk specifically about those being inducted this year. And I want to start with Jose Aldo, because I know you personally have spent a lot of time with Jose, all the world tour for Conor McGregor and beyond. I mean, what have you got to say about Jose?
There is no one scarier in the octagon and kinder in real life than Jose Aldo. I mean, he did something impossible. He made an actual weight class in this organization. I really don't know if, when that merger happened, if Jose Aldo wasn't the champion that he was, if they would have kept the division. And I think that says a lot about who he was as a champion, but also how he conducted himself both in and out of the octagon. He is the kindest soul that there ever could be. I mean, I was just almost emotional with him backstage talking about it, but he is just a beautiful representation of the sport. I mean, he is from Brazil, a small town, and yet he is now in the UFC Hall of Fame, and he literally did the impossible, and there's no one more deserving.
Yeah, I was going to say, and even when he retired, he was still performing. He was still putting on a show. But I think, again, he'll be remembered, like you said, for really pioneering, one of the pioneers of those lighter weight classes. Yeah. And then when you look ahead to, obviously, Volkanovski, another future great of the featherweight division, taking on Yair Rodriguez Saturday night, you'll be covering it. I mean, it must be an inspiration for those guys to look to someone like Aldo. Obviously, Volka's fought him.
Yeah, no, it's funny because they all still hold him in such regard. Whether he was in their weight class anymore or not, whether he was still actively fighting or not. I don't think that you competed in a lighter division, from 55, 45, 35, 25, and didn't look up to Jose Aldo. And I think, it's always funny when the heavyweights say, oh, I wish I could throw kicks like Jose or whatever it may be, because it didn't matter his size or stature. But I really do think that he's had such a big influence on the now champion and guys like Yair who are looking to become champion as well. I think that will be for a really long time. I don't think it's just going to be, oh, yeah, it's the last couple of years, but he retired. I think that legacy is going to stand in this division.
Yeah, I agree. And talking of fighters whose style was before their time, should I say, Anderson Silva. And of course, we've spoken to his son here on the red carpet, what an incredible young man. But what he has done for the sport and being other fighters' favorite fighter, I think says a lot as well.
It absolutely does. I remember the first time we went to go see Anderson live and cover an event, and it was actually in Brazil, and the way he fought there almost felt like it was magic. You were like, how is he pulling this off? Like the way he moved and everything, you're like, this feels not human. And he was just on another level. The way he moved his body and used his skills was unlike anything we had seen before. And I think really got a lot of attention to the sport. It drew in new fans because of what he was able to do and his capabilities. And I think, a lot of people started watching the sport because of Anderson Silva.
An entertainer as well, and coming back from that horrific leg injury and continuing to fight after that before he ultimately held up his MMA gloves anyway. And then of course we've got the Robbie Lawler and Rory McDonald fight. I mean, we were both there that night going into the fight wing, and I think it says as much about the fight as also Robbie Lawler himself.
100%. John Anik actually said it really beautifully during our fighter meetings this week when we spoke with Robbie. He said, it's not just about the actual fight, it is a chance for us to reflect upon your body of work, and Robbie's is substantial, to say the least. He's every fighter's favorite fighter, and he's just this really humble, quiet guy. You wouldn't necessarily know what he does or how successful he is by the way he talks about himself, but it's really nice to be able to give someone their flowers, while they're still in the sport. He has his last fight on Saturday, and to go into that knowing just how much he has accomplished and how highly everyone thinks about him, I think it's so perfect and so beautiful and so fitting for his final weekend here.
I know, and for someone that he doesn't like to talk. He does his talking in the octagon, but he seemed to be in very good spirits this week and a lot more chatty. And of course, Cowboy Cerrone, he's only just recently retired, and talking about fighters' favorite fighters, he fits the bill there as well.
He does, and I'm sure you can say this as well. He's just fun to work with. It was a joy to be able to interview Cowboy before and after all of his fights. I mean, it didn't ever feel like work or effort. And, even just now, speaking to him backstage here, you almost get emotional because you feel like you almost watch people grow up and accomplish even more than they could have dreamed. And he got teary-eyed looking at a photo of his grandmother and his wife and his boys. And he deserves that. This is a guy who never said no and always stepped up. And not just stepped up, but had these amazing battles. Whether he won or lost, he still was in exciting fights. And, it's really cool to be able to see somebody who had so many records, who has set so many different standards for the sport, to be acknowledged here. And, of course, he's going to have a beer in hand and everything. And he's winging the speech. So wish us all luck, I guess, who are going to watch it. He's winging the speech. He didn't know there were teleprompters, and he didn't want a scriptwriter.
I love it.
Yeah.
Always entertaining. Megan, always great to talk to
You're the
yourself.
best.
Have a
You're
great
the best.
weekend.
Hey,
Go
thanks.
well Saturday. Thank you.
Thanks. Everyone who watches Caroline is lucky for it because she's one of the hardest workers, so informed, and such a great presenter. It's always an honor to work alongside you. And I was just looking at some old photos, and Caroline used to be so sweet and like hold my hand when my husband fought, and I will never ever forget that. She is the best.
I remember those days. Thank
Yes,
you,
they were
Megan.
the
Thank
best.
you as
Thank
always.
you.
Take care.
You're the best.